There's a lot of complaints about games not being good as they used to be. A lot of people can't stand the microtransactions of modern games. A lot of people don't like how unfinished games are. They hate the fact that there's a lack of creativity. Some games just feel like we just got completely scammed out of $70. A lot of people are wondering, like, why are games this crazy? And games used to be so good, yada, yada, yada. And I want to make this game to encourage people to retro game. I don't subscribe to the idea that there's no games out. I do believe that we have a great deal of games to play. I do believe that we live in an era where you do have to probably work a little bit harder than you need to find a really good game. But there's great games out there. But the old games, they still hold up. The thing is about retro gaming is that no matter what era you was in, be it that you was in the PS2 era, the PS1 era, be it that you was in a much older era with the Super Nintendo, whatever the case may be, you are valid in thinking that those games were phenomenal, because if you go back and play them, although the graphics might be a little bit outdated, you'll feel the love within every title. Most definitely, 100%. Games were just complete, they were imaginative, and they were fulfilling. I bought a Dreamcast a few months ago, and my pops was super, super confused when I had told him. And he was telling me, oh man, your uncle used to have one. Little did he know that was mine. My uncle didn't have a Dreamcast. My grandma gave me a Dreamcast for Christmas. And the thing is about it is that I just wanted to relive that feeling when I was 5 years old, having that Dreamcast. And it was something about it. I didn't understand what it was, but it was something about it that was just so special during that time. So I was like, man, I gotta dive back into it. I just gotta figure out what it was that was so special about this console. So I went out on a limb and I said, F it. GameStop said they was doing this whole retro thing, and it inspired me to go find a Dreamcast. And I did. And one thing that I found out while getting my Dreamcast is that retro games still hold up in not only difficulty, but content. I played a lot of retro titles this year, between Sonic Adventures 2, Shenmue, and even playing all of the Grand Theft Autos. A lot of those games still are extremely, extremely difficult, but they have enough content within them where you can see, like, wow, this game really was a staple for its time, for a reason. And it being in the 2020s and still being able to find fulfillment within those games and still being able to play a crazy amount of hours if I truly wanted to, felt refreshing. And I was like, whoa. A lot of people don't really know that they can just buy one of these old consoles and still get that same feeling, because these games are not bad games at all. Yeah, the graphics are crappy. They're a little crusty. But man, did the developers go crazy with so much attention to detail. Like, a lot of games nowadays look really, really polished. They look beautiful, but they're missing soul. They're missing spirit. They're missing that love. They're missing that care, that you know what I'm saying, that feeling. You know what I mean? And one thing I realized with playing GTA San Andreas is that, like, man, they thought about everything. Even playing Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City, it was stuff inside the game that I didn't even notice. I did not know in Vice City that you could own businesses and get money. GTA Vice City, a game that came out in, 2002? This is crazy. Like, if you really, really think about the scope of where games are at now and what they used to be, I feel like they tried way harder back then to make the most out of their games, where nowadays it seems like they kind of dip their toe in ideas and they don't fully go all the way in, unfortunately. But not only do games still hold up in difficulty and content, most retro games are just really affordable. You can find a PS3 right now for about $70, $75. You can buy an Xbox 360 for about $60. You can buy a PS2 for about $150. You can buy a Dreamcast for about $140. You can buy a PS1 for about $90. Right? You can buy a Wii for about $65. You can buy a Sega Genesis for no more than $100. Like, you're not spending no more than $200 on any of these retro consoles, and you're gonna have a great time because you're not breaking your bank. The most expensive thing that come out of retro gaming is the games themselves. A lot of games do become rare, and there's limited copies. And yes, you got people that do stuff like create reproduction copies, so you don't necessarily have to deal with the price necessarily. But if you want an official case, cover, and all of that jazz, sometimes that can get a little pricey. The system itself isn't expensive at all. I encourage anybody who played a PS1, a PS2, an original Xbox, an Xbox 360, a GameCube, taking it back, a Saturn, a freaking whatever, a Genesis, a Mega System, Master System, my fault. Whatever that game was called, I don't know. I wasn't alive during that era. But all I'm trying to say is I encourage y'all to go buy those games and have fun with it, man. Don't feel like you have to be shackled down by modern gaming. It's not necessary. And another thing that I found out is that there's still communities in every console space. Every single console space has a community. There are people who only play PS1. There are people who only play Dreamcast. There's people who only play PS2 who love the memories that came with these eras. So if you just want to have people to talk to, there's so many Facebook groups, Discords, people who just retro game, even YouTube channels. Like, I think that retro gaming is a positive thing for gaming because it makes you appreciate what we had and look at what we got and be like, you know what? We could do better. We can strive for more. And we're able to actually take from something and learn from it and implement it in what we got now to do that. So go and find your community. Go and find your space. Retro gaming I think it's good for the heart. I think it's also good for the soul, man. Being able to go back into your memories, going back into your childhood like that, being able to tap into a more innocent part of yourself with such ease makes me feel like retro gaming is not something to be hesitant on at all. Have fun.